Story 1. You are not required to be friends with anyone for any reason. Jumping through many hoops to be with people isn't worth it. You can walk away from anyone, and tomorrow the same sun will rise, the rain will fall, and you will be fine. Story 2. That they are not invincible and will not live forever. The only people who figure it out earlier are the ones who tragically lose a friend or loved one who is still young. Story 3. When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years. Mark Twain. Story 4. That people aren't perfect. Some people started working at a place early, figured out that's not what they want, and start college at 32. That ideal path exists only for some people, while others have to figure life out more gradually, and that's completely okay. Story 5. That it really doesn't matter what other people think of you, although to be fair, this took me until I was at least 30 to figure out. It's actually surprising how little other people actually think about you, if at all. Story 6. A lot about themselves. Many people at 25 are getting a good picture of their capabilities, strengths, weaknesses, preferences, and are really starting to know themselves. Story 7. That the mistakes I made when I was 18 to 20 years old were already over 5 years ago and not yesterday. It has been a long time. Having that moment of revelation really helped me to forgive myself a lot. Also, things come and go, but family, my pet, and a few good friends will always stay. Story 8. What I learned was, no one truly cares what you do for a living. At worst, they'll say, "Oh, okay," and then move on since it doesn't affect them. You aren't impressing or disappointing anyone. If you don't get a certain job at 23, you aren't failing. You don't need to keep all of your high school friends. Some friendships ending will be painful and quick but necessary. Others will be a slow burn where nothing really was wrong. You both are just different now, and that's okay. Most of the people and their opinions you thought were important in high school and your early 20s really do not matter. And if you don't have social media, you will probably never see or think about them again. Story 9. The cost of living. Paying rent, paying for your own food, paying for your own things. I'm in my mid-20s and I have friends from hobbies just about to turn 20. They're always wondering how I don't have money despite earning more than them. It always comes down to the fact that they're not paying for much. Parents charge them some rent, but not a lot. They buy some of their own food, but not all, etc. Story 10. That the high school hierarchy doesn't translate. The smartest in the group aren't anymore, the jokester is annoying, and the too cool for anyone is just rude. You have to come to this on your own, though. It doesn't work to just hear it. Story 11. Good people or friends are extremely hard to come by after high school or college. Life gets real. It's like a Mack truck slamming into you full force. They don't tell you it's as terrifying, and literally nobody knows what they're doing. Story 12. That your teachers were probably doing drugs on the weekends because you are now friends with people who are teachers, and you are doing drugs on the weekends with them. Story 13. That your life is a direct result of the decisions you are making. The next one is that you can change it if you do not like it, and also that some decisions once made cannot be undone. Learning to follow through with life-changing decisions is so freeing and satisfying. On the flip side, some decisions have ramifications for the rest of your life that you are only just realizing now. Story 14. That if he treats you like shit, he doesn't love or respect you. A bad childhood, bad ex-girlfriend, bad day at work, or bad traffic is never an excuse for anyone to talk down to you or make you feel less than. Story 15. Freedom means responsibility. Congratulations on becoming an adult and not having to do what your parents tell you anymore. Here is your complimentary, everything you now realize you have to do anyway. It is a huge coincidence that it's all the same stuff that your parents used to tell you to do. Story 16. This is it. This is your one shot. Your one life. This is your only trip on this rock hurtling through space. If you're 23 years, 4 months, and 3 days old, you will never be that age again. That time is gone. There are no second chances. Because the next time you'll be older, you'll be different, the world will be different. It will be your first try at doing it again. This one life is all we get, and it will be over so much faster than you realize. So make the most of it. Story 17. You will become specific. General advice does not hit the same way, and you need to be confident and trust in your own experiences. Hopefully, you will be a little more emotionally intelligent in a way that only comes with lived experience. Story 18. For the majority of your life, you're going to be at work, and those long summers of spending time with your family, traveling, and pursuing your hobbies are not coming back. Story 19. It is okay to drop out of college a few times. You are never too old to go back and finish. You probably will not really figure out what you want to do until you are 25 or 26. All that life planning you were forced to do when you were 18 is meaningless. Advanced placement classes do not give you a competitive edge in life. They do not even let you skip that much in college. Most stuff they told you was life or death important in high school was not. Being a bridesmaid is unpleasant, and weddings are an expensive pain. Living life rent-free and never having to pay for utilities was ideal. Being able to pull an all-nighter is not something you can do forever. Story 20. That you don't really become an adult until 25. At 25, you are generally living on your own, working a job, paying bills, deciding when and how to eat, and taking responsibility for your taxes, etc. Story 21. High school just does not matter all that much. Most likely, you were a pimple-addled, horny, anxious, snot-nosed kid who thought you were grown because your first body hairs came in. You think you are the main character of the story because you are so focused on your own feelings that the little inconveniences matter way more than they should. Some memories are well and good, but trust me, nobody will remember how well you dressed. They will not remember that you were the first in the grade to have sex. They will not remember that you got a cool car the moment you turned 16. Most importantly, they probably will not even remember you. Even for people with all the hype from a young age, they had plenty of peers who just did not care at all. The world does not revolve around you. You just simply exist in it. The moment you realize this, the melodrama of that time period just looks sillier and sillier, and having a younger sibling around that age range really drives that point home. My God, is this really the stuff I was losing sleep over? Becomes a recurring thought in your head very quickly. After all, you were just a kid. A time period that takes up less than a tenth of your life should not define it. Story 22. When they were 18, they thought they might have it figured out. When they were 21, they thought they might have it figured out. When they were 23, they think they have figured it out. When they were 25, they will figure out they will never figure it out, and it is just part of life. Story 23. Life is fast. Faster than when you're a kid. School is 5 years, which feels like forever as a teen. But 18 to 23 flew by for me. I'm 25 now. I actually can't quite believe it. Story 24. Not everything is as binary and simple as you thought when you were a teenager. Giving homes to homeless people will not magically make homelessness go away. Trying to arouse yourself to straight pornography will not make you straight. Racism is not on its way out, and so on. Story 25. Maybe a little soon at 25, but they understand how long 10 years actually is. At that age, more like 28 to 30, they have 10 years of what I'll call conscious experience. By this, I mean they were making coherent, independent decisions that they can remember from 10 years ago. When you are 18, you haven't really got 10 years of experience of how 10 years passes because you are just going through the motions of growing up, going to school from age 8 to 18. But from 18 to 28, at age 28, you have a better grasp of gauging what 10 years actually feels like, so I'd say that it was a big thing for me. Story 26. How scary life can be. When you are young, you just do not understand how an injury can change your life, how you can forever regret making a bad decision or doing or saying something foolish. Story 27. That no matter how old you are, you will probably never really feel like an adult. You will do adult things, but you will not really feel like one, at least not all the time. There have been a few times, talking with my kids about serious things, where I have felt a tinge of being an adult but not full-fledged adulthood. Oh, and look forward to working for the next 50 years. Story 28. I often observe that humans take until age 25 to mature intellectually. That's just a median, though, and there are multiple kinds of intelligence. Some people understand calculus in their teens but are late bloomers in emotional intelligence. Others are the opposite, and then there are many people who will never pass a calculus exam. The point is, it's oversimplifying to think any one marker of mature cognition should be the standard for 25-year-old normalcy. Story 29. Once you leave high school, time just flies by. It's weird how high school was 4 years but felt like decades, yet it's been decades since I was in high school, and it just feels like a few years ago. Story 30. That you should spend more time alone with your grandparents. Stop over and visit with them often, make dinners together, look through picture books together, and ask them about their life. Go on day or weekend trips to fun local spots. You will cherish those memories once they are gone. Story 31. That your parents are their own real people and worked really hard to make Christmas feel magical. They enacted this fantasy ritual for you every year for years. Story 32. That loved ones will not be around forever. I turned 30 this year and I have no living grandparents left. My great-grandmother lived to be almost 96, so I always thought that my grandparents would be around for a lot longer than they were. I think about my parents getting older now too, and it makes me so sad. While I've always been close with my parents, I call them almost every day now, and I visit them more frequently. Story 33. Neurological research and anecdotal evidence both show that the connection between long-term consequences and decisions made does not develop in the brain until approximately age 27. Story 34. Nobody cares as much about your mistakes or embarrassing moments as much as you think. Every stupid thing you did? Yeah, nobody remembers that as much as you do, even a week down the line. Don't let people live rent-free in your head. Also, focus on making a couple of intense, deep friendships instead of a swarm of shallow ones. The friends I have today are the ones I invested time into. Story 35. I turned 25 in a couple of months, but I've lived more than enough life for someone who's only 24. So here are some things I've realized that I would have never realized as a teen. Starting smoking at 14 has never been, and never will be, a flex. It was a coping mechanism that I should have never started. A lot of friends are only circumstantial. You have friends at school only because you see them 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Once you graduate, it's not very likely you'll remain friends with very many of them. And that carries into work environments as well. Nothing is as black and white as I thought it was. Protecting my peace is more important than protecting someone else's, generally speaking. Just because I thought keeping secrets about myself was protecting me doesn't mean that it was. It's important to let people in. Bottling up my emotions and taking my anger out on people that don't deserve it is not something that I can just ignore. It needed to be properly dealt with. As a teenager, I thought I had to have everything figured out for myself by the time I was 20. Now I'm almost 25 and have come to realize almost nobody my age has anything figured out. Life is very rarely about how other people see you and more about how you see yourself. If you are confident in who you are at your core, even if you're not confident in how you look, that's all that matters. There is no such thing as being too nice. Seeing the good in others and wanting to help people is a trait that nobody should ever be ashamed of or angry at themselves for. Story 36. The sheer amount of money I wasted and how that money could have been better invested for my future and retirement. Most of the things I spent it on I don't even own, and they added little to no value to my life. Story 37. That living with your family is a luxury, and you only have a few more years with them. Once you move out, it is never the same. I'm 30, and I truly wish I had spent more quality time with my family when I was a teenager. Story 38. How much freedom they have. They probably think they don't, that once I'm out of my parents' reach, they'll be free. But the opposite is true, unless you're very poor and have had to become an adult earlier in life. They don't have to work. They don't have to commute. They don't have to do their taxes. They don't have to think about their retirement plans, savings, and investments. They don't have to cook every meal every day. They don't have to clean the whole house. They don't have to fix their house when something breaks down. They don't have to do laundry every day. They have tens of hours of free time per day and all weekend. And most important, they have potential. That's what I envy them the most for. Once you're 25, 30, or 35, you're already done. The many, many paths open to you when you were a teenager have been reduced to a handful. When you're a teenager, the sky is the limit. Story 39. Your parents won't live forever. They are only human and fallible, and might not have been much older than you when they had you. Since at 25 I didn't know anything, chances are they probably didn't either, and were just trying their best. Story 40. Even as you grow up, you'll never leave your teenager stage. You'll still be self-centered, think the world owes you everything, vie for people's attention, feel left out and still have dreams and so on. The difference is that you feel less, like the intensity isn't as high as it was. You'll just get to think more about things, but you're still the same person. Story 41. That they do not actually know everything, and that their parents were probably right about a lot of life skills that they should know but neglected to learn.